It's one of the simplest foods in your kitchen. You can scramble it, boil it, fry it, or whisk it into something elegant. For many Americans, the day begins with the soft crack of an eggshell. But what if I told you that this very habit, something so ordinary, so trusted, could quietly be harming your heart, your metabolism, even your energy levels after 50? It's not the egg itself that's dangerous. It's how most people eat it, store it, and pair it without realizing what they're doing to their body. The truth is, eggs can be a powerful ally for your health or a slow, silent burden, depending on the mistakes you make with them. And if you're over 50, those mistakes can have consequences that are far more serious than you might think. Most people grew up hearing that eggs are one of nature's perfect foods, packed with protein, rich in vitamins, gentle on the stomach. That's true, but only part of the story. Because how your body processes that little sphere of nutrients changes with age. Your arteries, once flexible and wide, now require more delicate balance. Your liver, which filters every bit of cholesterol and fat, works slower. Your insulin response, once sharp, now dulls slightly after meals. All of this means that the same egg that fueled you at 30 could affect your body differently at 60. Yet very few people stop to think about it. They just eat the same way they always have. The same frying pan, the same oil, the same breakfast combinations, never realizing that tiny habits, repeated daily, are shaping the health of their heart, brain, and blood vessels. Let's start with the most common mistake: overcooking. Many people believe that the longer they cook their eggs, the safer they are. A rubbery scrambled egg feels done, right? But when you overheat an egg, something subtle happens. The delicate fats in the yolk oxidize, the proteins denature beyond recognition, and compounds called advanced glycation end products, AGEs, form. These AGEs, and yes, the irony of that name is almost poetic, accelerate aging from the inside out. They stiffen arteries, dull your skin, and even cloud your brain over time. That's because AGEs increase inflammation, one of the main culprits behind heart disease and cognitive decline. In younger bodies, the damage might go unnoticed for years. But after 50, when your cells repair slower and your blood vessels are already under pressure, the impact multiplies. A simple, overcooked egg, eaten every morning, can quietly become a source of chronic oxidative stress. Another mistake is the oil you choose. Walk into most kitchens and you'll find people frying their eggs in vegetable oil, canola, or margarine. These were once marketed as heart-healthy, but science has long since exposed the illusion. Many of these oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which fuel inflammation when consumed in excess. Combine that with the natural cholesterol and fats in the yolk, and you've created a biochemical storm inside your bloodstream. The healthy choice, olive oil, avocado oil, or even a small amount of butter from grass-fed cows, provides the opposite effect. These fats stabilize cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and support brain function. But here's the key detail most people don't realize. It's not just the oil itself, but the temperature it reaches. High heat frying can destroy the very benefits these healthy fats offer. Once smoke appears in the pan, toxic compounds start to form. So even if you picked the right oil, you might be undoing its benefits simply by overheating it. There's also a silent danger in the pairing. Many Americans combine eggs with processed meats, bacon, sausage, ham. The smell alone is comforting, nostalgic, but that sizzling side dish can transform a healthy breakfast into a cardiovascular trap. Processed meats contain nitrites, nitrates, and advanced fats that, when cooked together with the cholesterol in egg yolks, create harmful nitrosamines, compounds known to damage the lining of blood vessels. Studies have shown that people who frequently combine eggs with processed meats have higher markers of oxidative stress and arterial stiffness. If you're over 50, those same processes accelerate the narrowing of arteries, the elevation of blood pressure, and even subtle cognitive decline. The breakfast that once fueled your mornings might now be slowly exhausting your heart. But not all the danger is on the plate. Sometimes it begins long before that, in your refrigerator. Most people keep their eggs for weeks, assuming they're fine as long as they look okay. The truth is, even slight temperature fluctuations can cause bacterial growth, particularly from salmonella strains that thrive at just above refrigeration levels. Older adults are more susceptible to these bacteria, because of a naturally weaker immune response. A mild infection that a younger person would shake off can cause severe dehydration, intestinal distress, or even hospitalization in someone over 50. The simple habit of keeping eggs in the fridge door, where temperatures fluctuate every time it opens, increases this risk. The safer place is deep inside the fridge, where the temperature stays stable and cold. Yet how many people think about that as they slide the carton into the door for convenience? Then there's the question of how the eggs are raised. It might sound like marketing, but it's pure biology. Eggs from hens raised in cramped industrial conditions have a very different nutrient profile from those of pasture-raised hens. The difference lies in their diet. Hens that eat grass, insects, and natural grains produce eggs richer in omega-3s, vitamin D, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, nutrients that protect the eyes, brain, and heart. Industrial eggs, by contrast, often contain higher levels of inflammatory omega-6 fats. The labels can be deceptive. Cage-free doesn't always mean pasture-raised. Organic might refer only to the feed, not the environment. The average consumer, overwhelmed by the choices, ends up grabbing whatever's cheapest, not realizing that the few extra dollars for higher quality eggs could mean less inflammation, clearer arteries, and a more balanced cholesterol profile in the long run. But perhaps the most subtle mistake, and the one that even health-conscious people make, is eating eggs the same way every day. Your body thrives on variety. When you consume the same food repeatedly, your digestive enzymes adapt, your gut microbiome narrows, and your immune system loses some of its flexibility. For adults over 50, whose digestive efficiency naturally declines, this becomes even more important. Eggs are highly nutritious, yes, but they're also rich in choline, sulfur, and certain amino acids that, in excess, can elevate homocysteine, a compound linked to heart disease and cognitive decline. In small amounts, your body uses it to repair tissues. In large amounts, it becomes toxic to blood vessels. When you mix that with other high choline foods daily, like red meat or dairy, without balancing it with leafy greens and B vitamins, the risks multiply silently. What feels like a healthy habit can, over years, become a trigger for arterial inflammation. And yet, despite all these risks, eggs themselves are not the villain. The problem is that people rarely think about context, how food interacts with their age, their habits, and their overall diet. Nutrition is not about good or bad, it's about balance. The same egg that supports muscle strength can also strain your arteries, depending on what it's paired with and how it's cooked. The same yolk that nourishes your brain can harm it if it's constantly overfried in poor quality oils. Understanding that balance is the difference between food as medicine and food as slow poison. Unfortunately, many people over 50 grew up in an era of conflicting nutritional advice. First, eggs were good. Then, they were bad. Then, they were good again. The truth lies somewhere in between, and the key is personalization. How your body reacts depends on your genetics, your liver health, your activity level, even your gut bacteria. But few people take the time to learn what their body is telling them after meals. The subtle fatigue, the brain fog, the bloating. Those are whispers from your system, clues that something in your diet is off balance. One of the most overlooked details is timing. When you eat, eggs matters. Morning eggs can provide stable energy if paired with fiber and healthy fats. But at night, when your digestion slows and cholesterol metabolism drops, eating multiple eggs can overload your liver and bloodstream. This isn't about fear, it's about rhythm. Your body runs on circadian patterns. After 50, those patterns become more sensitive to timing and nutrient load. That's why breakfast should be light but nourishing, lunch balanced, and dinner gentle. The older we get, the more our metabolism rewards consistency and punishes overload. A midnight omelette might seem harmless, but to your arteries and liver, it's a stress test they didn't sign up for. Imagine your bloodstream as a quiet river. Every choice you make of the oil, the cooking time, the pairings, sends ripples through that river. Some smooth it out, keeping it clean and flowing. Others add debris, narrowing the channel over time. Most people don't notice the buildup until one day they feel a heaviness in their chest, or a slight dizziness when they stand up too fast, or their doctor mentions borderline cholesterol. That's the accumulation of small daily mistakes. The goal is not perfection, it's awareness, because awareness, once awakened, changes everything. You start to notice how you feel after certain meals. You start to care about where your food comes from. You begin to see that aging isn't a decline. It's an invitation to refine, to simplify, to become more intentional. And that's where the transformation begins. Because every health choice you make after 50 carries more weight, not in fear, but in opportunity. The same body that's slower to recover is also more responsive to consistency. The same arteries that once stiffened can soften again with the right nourishment. The same cells that once carried inflammation can rejuvenate when the triggers are removed. It's not about giving up eggs, it's about eating them wisely. The egg can be your allies or your enemy, depending on your awareness. And by the time you finish this journey, you'll see that the difference lies not in the shell, but in the choices that surround it. That's where our story truly begins, with 6 simple but critical mistakes that millions make every single morning. Some will surprise you, others will make perfect sense once you understand the science. But all of them, once corrected, have the power to restore clarity, vitality, and balance to your life after 50. Because the truth is, the egg isn't dangerous, ignorance is. And the moment you see how small daily habits ripple through your body, you'll never look at breakfast the same way again. When most people think about eating eggs, they picture simplicity: a fried egg beside toast, a soft-boiled egg with salt and pepper, a comforting symbol of breakfast, warmth, and familiarity. But behind that simplicity lies a complex biochemical story that your body tells every single time you eat one. Especially after the age of 50, this story changes dramatically, and understanding that shift can mean the difference between thriving in later years and slowly draining your body's resilience without realizing it. Let's begin with something few people ever consider: digestion. The way your body digests an egg at 50 is not the same as it was at 30. As we age, stomach acid production decreases. That means proteins and fats, the 2 dominant components of eggs, take longer to break down. When that process slows, 2 things happen. Your body absorbs nutrients less efficiently, and undigested proteins can linger, feeding harmful gut bacteria and creating low-grade inflammation. You might not notice it immediately. Maybe it's subtle bloating, maybe it's fatigue an hour after breakfast, but beneath the surface, your gut barrier weakens, letting microscopic toxins leak into the bloodstream, a phenomenon known as leaky gut. Why does this matter when talking about eggs? Because eggs are among the most complete sources of protein, but also among the most complex for aging digestion. If you don't support your gut environment by eating enough fiber, probiotics, or digestive enzymes, your body can start reacting to what it once tolerated easily. You might hear people say they suddenly became sensitive to eggs. What's really happening is that their digestive system has shifted, not the egg itself. The immune system, which patrols the gut, starts to see undigested protein fragments as invaders. That's how food sensitivities form later in life. Not from the food, but from the weakening of digestion and intestinal integrity. And here's where one of the first dangerous mistakes hides: ignoring your body's quiet feedback. Most adults over 50 think of food reactions only in terms of extremes: an allergy, a stomachache, something visible or dramatic. But your body speaks in whispers: a headache 2 hours later, joint stiffness in the afternoon, mental fog after lunch. These are subtle indicators that your immune system is working harder than it should. Eggs, when consumed in excess or poorly digested, can amplify that response. It's not about fear, it's about feedback. Listening to how your body feels after certain meals is one of the most powerful diagnostic tools you have. And yet it's the one modern society teaches us to ignore. There's another hidden danger many people never realize: how easily bacteria multiply in egg-based dishes. The very nutrients that make eggs so nourishing, their proteins, fats, and water content, also make them ideal breeding grounds for bacteria if left out too long. Think about buffets, picnics, or half-eaten breakfasts that sit at room temperature for hours. Even slightly warm conditions allow salmonella or listeria to grow rapidly. These bacteria don't always cause immediate symptoms. But in older adults, they can trigger systemic inflammation, gut disruption, and fatigue that last for days. The immune system after 50 doesn't mount quick, sharp defenses. It operates slower, sometimes confusing friend and foe. That's why even mild bacterial exposure from improperly stored eggs can lead to what many describe as just feeling off. Mistake number 2 emerges here, trusting that all eggs are equally safe. In truth, how an egg is stored, transported, and cooked changes everything. When you buy eggs, they should always feel cool to the touch. Even a few hours at room temperature can allow condensation to form on the shell, providing a perfect surface for bacteria to slip inside through microscopic pores. And washing eggs at home, though it might sound hygienic, actually removes the natural protective coating that prevents bacteria from entering. The safest practice is to buy from reliable sources, keep eggs refrigerated consistently, and avoid washing them until right before use, if at all. These details sound small, but after 50, small details can decide whether your body thrives or struggles. Let's shift to something more biochemical: cholesterol. For decades, eggs were demonized as cholesterol bombs. Then the science evolved, revealing that dietary cholesterol doesn't affect blood cholesterol as much as once believed. But that revelation came with a hidden caveat. It applies mainly to people with robust liver metabolism and healthy insulin sensitivity. After 50, both of those systems naturally weaken. The liver becomes less efficient at processing fats, and insulin sensitivity, the body's ability to regulate blood sugar, begins to decline. When those two functions slow down, dietary cholesterol starts to have a larger impact on the bloodstream. Here's what that means in real terms. If your triglycerides are high, or if your HDL, good cholesterol, is low, eating multiple whole eggs daily can worsen that imbalance. Not because eggs are inherently bad, but because your body no longer manages cholesterol transport as efficiently. The particles that carry cholesterol, LDL and HDL, become smaller and denser, more prone to oxidation. Oxidized LDL is the real enemy of heart health. It's sticky, it irritates blood vessel walls, and it invites inflammation to build plaque. What makes LDL oxidize faster? The very mistakes we discussed earlier: overcooking, using poor oils, pairing with processed meats. It's a cascade of small decisions that quietly determine whether your morning meal supports your heart or stresses it. Now, think about how many people scramble eggs in non-stick pans with metal utensils. Each scratch on that pan releases microscopic bits of Teflon and polymer coatings into your food. Over years, those particles accumulate in your body, especially in the liver. They're known as forever chemicals because they don't break down easily. Research has shown that these compounds interfere with hormone regulation, thyroid function, and detoxification, 3 systems already vulnerable in older adults. So while your breakfast might seem harmless, it could be introducing toxins that your body can no longer flush out as effectively as before. The safer choice is simple, but rarely discussed. Use ceramic, stainless steel, or cast iron cookware. These materials don't leach harmful compounds, and they last a lifetime when cared for properly. We also need to talk about what happens when you skip the yolk, a surprisingly common mistake among health-conscious people. For years, fear of cholesterol led millions to embrace egg whites only. While that does reduce cholesterol intake, it also strips away the nutrients that make eggs valuable in the first place. The yolk contains choline, lutein, zeaxanthin, vitamin D, and essential fatty acids that protect the brain, eyes, and liver. Without these nutrients, the protein in egg whites becomes incomplete in its biological function. Think of it this way: nature designed the egg as a complete system, protein and fat, antioxidants and enzymes, each component balancing the other. When you remove one, you disrupt that harmony. After 50, the consequences of nutrient imbalance magnify. Choline deficiency, for example, can impair liver detoxification and memory formation. Low levels of lutein and zeaxanthin accelerate macular degeneration, the leading cause of age-related vision loss. So in the effort to eat light, many adults unknowingly deprive their body of what it needs most: protective micronutrients that guard against aging. The real key isn't removing the yolk, it's preparing it correctly, avoiding oxidation, and pairing it with foods that enhance absorption like spinach, avocado, or olive oil. Let's pause for a moment and imagine what's happening inside your arteries. Each time you eat an overcooked egg with processed meat, fried in cheap oil, your blood experiences a brief surge of inflammation. Your endothelial cells, the thin lining inside your vessels, respond by tightening, becoming less flexible. Over time, that stiffness builds. It's not something you feel immediately. There's no sharp pain, no warning sign. But years later, it shows up as high blood pressure, chest tightness, or shortness of breath during a simple walk. This process is known as endothelial dysfunction, the earliest stage of heart disease. And yet, it begins quietly at the breakfast table, long before symptoms appear. But the good news is that the opposite is also true. When you prepare your eggs gently, poached, soft-boiled, or lightly scrambled with olive oil, you reduce oxidation and preserve the nutrients that help protect those same blood vessels. Pair them with greens, whole grains, or avocado, and you activate what scientists call the meal synergy effect. That means each ingredient supports the other's absorption and function. The antioxidants from vegetables protect the fats from oxidation. The fiber from whole grains slows the release of cholesterol. The healthy fats improve vitamin absorption. Your body thrives not on single foods, but on the combinations you create. There's a cultural element to this story too. In many traditional societies, eggs were eaten sparingly, a few times a week, often combined with vegetables or soups. They weren't the daily staple they've become in modern Western diets. Industrial farming and convenience changed that. Now, it's easy to eat 2 or 3 eggs every single morning, often without variety or balance. Over decades, that habit alters metabolic patterns, shifting how your body handles fat and cholesterol. Moderation, once instinctive, became forgotten. But moderation doesn't mean deprivation. It means rediscovering the rhythm of nourishment, listening to your body's needs, not routines or marketing slogans. For those over 50, that rhythm must include recovery. After meals, your body enters a phase called postprandial metabolism, the period when it processes what you just ate. In younger years, this process is quick. By afternoon, your blood sugar and fats are back to baseline. But with age, that recovery slows. Fats linger in the bloodstream longer, leading to what doctors call postprandial lipemia. It's one of the earliest indicators of metabolic stress, invisible, symptomless, but deeply significant. Studies show that prolonged post-meal fat levels correlate strongly with cardiovascular risk. And eggs, when eaten incorrectly, especially fried or paired with saturated fats, can intensify that effect. That's why timing and balance matter so much. Eating eggs earlier in the day, alongside fiber and antioxidants, allows your metabolism to clear fats efficiently before nighttime, when the liver's workload increases. You might be wondering, how can something so small, so familiar, carry such a large impact? The answer lies in accumulation. One meal won't harm you. But patterns, daily habits repeated across years, shape your biology. Every breakfast builds upon the last. Every choice writes another line in your body's story. The comforting smell of frying eggs, the warm satisfaction of a full plate, these moments feel harmless, even joyful. And they should be. Food is meant to nourish not only the body but the spirit. But awareness gives you the power to keep that joy without the hidden cost. Imagine waking up one morning, making the same breakfast you've had for decades, but this time, understanding exactly what's happening as you eat it. You choose olive oil instead of margarine. You cook the eggs gently, preserving the golden yolk. You skip the processed meat and add sautéed spinach instead. You feel the difference. Lighter, clearer, steadier energy through the day. Over weeks, your cholesterol numbers shift, your digestion improves, your energy steadies. Nothing dramatic, no deprivation, just quiet, consistent correction. That's the power of awareness turned into action. Because the truth is, your body still loves eggs. It's your oldest ally in simplicity, one of nature's most efficient nutrient packages. But it requires respect for temperature, quality, balance, and context. Most people eat reactively, they follow habit. The wiser approach, especially after 50, is to eat intentionally, to see each meal as an opportunity to restore balance, not disrupt it. Every egg can either fuel inflammation or fight it, depending on how you treat it. In medicine, we often talk about the concept of biological age. It's not your birth year that determines how old your body is, it's the cumulative effect of your daily choices. Two people of the same age can have entirely different biological profiles depending on how they've lived. That means it's never too late to change the trajectory. Even after years of making these small mistakes, your body can heal, repair, and recalibrate. The liver regenerates, the arteries regain flexibility, the gut microbiome rebuilds within weeks of consistent care. So when I tell you that 6 common mistakes with eggs can make a significant difference in your health, it's not fear, it's invitation. An invitation to reclaim one of the most familiar foods in your kitchen and make it your ally again, to rediscover its value through the lens of science, mindfulness, and self-respect. Because every choice you make now echoes through the next decade of your life. And those echoes can sound like fatigue and fragility, or strength and vitality. As we move deeper into this exploration, we'll break down those 6 mistakes one by one. You'll see how each, in its own subtle way, alters your body's chemistry, and more importantly, how to correct them with simple, natural habits. Because the truth is, health after 50 isn't about adding more complexity. It's about simplifying with wisdom, removing the noise, the myths, the marketing, and returning to balance. And in that balance, you'll rediscover something profound that your body even now still wants to heal. It's always been on your side. It just needs you to meet it halfway. There's something powerful about realizing that what we eat every morning has the ability to either heal or harm us. For decades, eggs have sat at the center of that debate, praised as a superfood by some and criticized as a cholesterol bomb by others. But science isn't black and white, and the truth about eggs, especially for adults over 50, lives in the shades of detail most people overlook. Because the real problem isn't the egg itself, it's the mistakes that quietly transform something nourishing into something harmful. Mistakes that, when repeated day after day, accumulate in your blood vessels, your liver, and your brain. And the first of those 6 mistakes begins where most mornings do, the frying pan. Mistake number 1, overheating and oxidizing the egg. Imagine what happens inside a frying pan as you heat oil until it sizzles and drop in your egg. The whites bubble, the edges brown, and the yolk begins to crust. To the eye, it looks delicious, but to your body, that brown edge is the mark of oxidation, the destruction of delicate nutrients. The yolk contains some of the most sensitive compounds in nutrition: phospholipids, omega-3 fatty acids, and choline, which all degrade rapidly at high temperatures. When overheated, these nutrients oxidize and release aldehydes, toxic compounds that can inflame the liver and irritate arterial walls. After 50, when your metabolism and detoxification systems aren't as quick as they once were, the damage adds up. The liver, already managing cholesterol, hormones, and blood sugar balance, becomes burdened by these extra toxins. Over time, this contributes to what physicians call fatty liver changes, a condition that now affects nearly 1 in 3 adults over 50, even those who don't drink alcohol. The healthier alternative is simpler than most think: gentle heat. The best eggs are those cooked slowly, poached, soft-boiled, or lightly scrambled over low heat. The whites should be firm but tender, the yolk creamy and intact. This preserves the integrity of choline and prevents oxidation. Cooking this way isn't just a culinary choice, it's a form of respect for your body's chemistry. It honors the egg for what it truly is: a nutrient capsule designed by nature, not meant to be scorched or rushed. Mistake number 2, the wrong companions on the plate. Few things smell better than eggs and bacon together. It's a scent that carries nostalgia, lazy weekends, family breakfasts, comfort. But beneath that comfort lies a perfect storm of pro-inflammatory compounds. Processed meats like bacon, sausage, and ham contain nitrates and nitrites that, when combined with the fats and cholesterol in eggs under heat, form nitrosamines, carcinogenic compounds known to damage DNA and accelerate vascular aging. The average person over 50 already has microinflammations throughout their circulatory system, tiny invisible irritations in the vessel walls caused by years of stress, poor sleep, and sugar spikes. Adding a meal like this day after day fuels that inflammation like dry leaves catching fire. Studies show that pairing processed meats with eggs increases oxidative stress in the bloodstream within hours of consumption. The body responds with a defensive wave of inflammation, subtle, painless, but cumulative. There's another detail people rarely consider: sodium. Processed meats add a sodium load that can push blood pressure up even in those who think they're borderline. Over 50, your kidney's ability to excrete sodium declines. That means salt accumulates more easily, causing fluid retention, higher pressure, and stress on the heart. It's not dramatic at first, perhaps a little swelling in the ankles, a tightness in rings, a mild headache. But over years it quietly shapes your risk of stroke and heart failure. What's the better pairing? Think of balance. Combine your eggs with sautéed greens, tomatoes, mushrooms, or avocados. These foods provide potassium, magnesium, and antioxidants that neutralize oxidative stress. The fiber from vegetables slows cholesterol absorption and supports gut health. The healthy fats in avocado or olive oil stabilize your blood sugar and protect the brain. The shift is subtle, but your body feels it immediately. Lighter digestion, steadier energy, calmer focus. Mistake number 3, the hidden danger of constant repetition. Most people eat the same breakfast for years without thinking twice. It's convenient, predictable, and comforting. But your body doesn't thrive on repetition. It thrives on diversity. Each food provides a specific set of nutrients, and when you eat the same thing daily, you narrow your nutritional range. Eggs are rich in choline and sulfur amino acids like methionine and cysteine. In moderation, these are essential. But in excess, they can raise levels of homocysteine, a compound strongly linked to heart disease, dementia, and stroke. Homocysteine acts like microscopic sandpaper inside your arteries, irritating the walls and making it easier for plaque to form. Normally, your body neutralizes it with vitamins B6, B12, and folate. But as you age, your ability to absorb these vitamins declines, especially B12, which requires adequate stomach acid and intrinsic factor from the stomach lining. So while eggs remain healthy in principle, eating them daily without balance, without greens, without folate, without variety, tips that biochemical scale in the wrong direction. The solution isn't to eliminate eggs, but to rotate them. Have them 3 or 4 times a week, alternating with high-protein alternatives like Greek yogurt, legumes, or oatmeal with nuts and seeds. On the other days, load your breakfast with vegetables and complex carbs that replenish the micronutrients eggs can deplete when consumed in excess. This variety keeps your metabolism flexible, your gut microbiome diverse, and your arteries calm. Mistake number 4, buying the wrong kind of eggs. At the grocery store, egg cartons scream for attention: cage-free, organic, omega-3 enriched. Yet most consumers don't know what these words truly mean. Cage-free only means the hens aren't in small cages. They could still live indoors in crowded barns with no access to sunlight. Organic means their feed is free from synthetic pesticides, but doesn't guarantee humane living conditions. The only term that truly indicates quality is pasture-raised. That means hens are allowed to roam outdoors, forage naturally, and eat grass, insects, and seeds, the diet they were biologically designed for. This matters more than most people realize. The diet of a hen directly shapes the nutrients in its eggs. Pasture-raised eggs contain up to twice the vitamin E, 3 times the omega-3 fatty acids, and significantly higher levels of lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants crucial for eye health. They also have a better omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, which reduces inflammation in the body. For adults over 50, this difference is not trivial. It affects everything from cardiovascular stability to cognitive clarity. Industrial eggs, by contrast, often contain residues of antibiotics, lower antioxidant levels, and higher inflammatory fats. Consuming these over time subtly shifts your internal chemistry, not enough to feel immediately, but enough to matter in the long term. Choosing better eggs is one of the simplest ways to upgrade your nutrition without changing your habits. It's not about eating more or less, it's about eating better. Mistake number 5, storing eggs incorrectly. Let's step into the refrigerator for a moment. Most people keep their eggs in the door, thinking it's convenient. But every time that door opens, the temperature fluctuates. Warm air rushes in, cold air escapes, and condensation forms on the eggshell. That moisture softens the shell's protective layer, allowing bacteria like salmonella to slip inside through microscopic pores. You won't see it, smell it, or taste it. But once it's there, it can multiply. For adults over 50 whose immune systems are less reactive, even a small bacterial load can cause systemic inflammation. It might manifest as digestive discomfort, fatigue, or mild flu-like symptoms that never quite resolve. The safest place for eggs is deep inside the fridge on the middle shelf, where the temperature stays steady. And always keep them in their original carton. It protects them from absorbing odors and prevents shell damage. Another overlooked mistake is washing eggs before storing them. In the US too, commercial eggs are already washed and sanitized before packaging. Washing them again at home removes the natural cuticle that protects the shell, increasing vulnerability to bacteria. Unless the egg is visibly dirty, leave it as is until use. Small details like this matter more than people think. Food safety isn't about paranoia, it's about precision. Mistake number 6. Ignoring timing and balance. Your metabolism has a rhythm, a circadian clock that influences how efficiently you process food at different times of day. In the morning, cortisol levels are naturally higher, which helps mobilize energy. Your digestive system is primed to handle protein and fat more effectively. By evening, that efficiency declines as melatonin rises and your body prepares for rest. Yet many people eat heavy, high-protein meals late at night, thinking it doesn't matter. Eating eggs late in the evening, especially fried or paired with fatty foods, can disrupt this rhythm. Your liver, already slowing its nighttime functions, must divert resources to metabolize the cholesterol and fats, instead of focusing on repair and detoxification. This affects sleep quality, digestion, and even next-day energy levels. For older adults who often struggle with lighter sleep, this habit can create a subtle but persistent fatigue cycle. The best time to eat eggs is in the first half of the day, breakfast or lunch, when your metabolism is active and your digestive fire is strong. Pair them with fiber-rich foods and hydration to support nutrient absorption. This timing not only optimizes digestion, but also stabilizes blood sugar for the rest of the day, preventing energy crashes and cravings. When you start adjusting these 6 mistakes, something almost magical happens. You begin to notice small improvements, clearer focus in the morning, less bloating, more stable mood. Over weeks, these micro-improvements compound. Your blood markers shift, cholesterol ratios balance, liver enzymes normalize, blood pressure steadies. It's not a miracle, it's biology responding to alignment. Your body, even after decades of wear, is still adaptable. It's designed to heal when you give it the right conditions. The problem isn't aging, it's neglect. When you start honoring the small details, how you cook, what you pair, when you eat, your body remembers how to thrive. Picture this. It's a quiet morning. The kitchen light is soft. You crack an egg into warm water instead of a hot pan. The yolk stays golden, smooth, alive. You plate it beside a handful of sautéed spinach and a drizzle of olive oil. You take your first bite and something feels different, cleaner, lighter. You don't feel weighed down afterward. You don't crash an hour later. It's a small moment, but it represents a larger shift from unconscious habit to mindful nourishment, because that's what this entire journey is about. It's not just about avoiding danger. It's about rediscovering balance. Food is information. Every bite tells your body how to function, how to heal, how to age. The mistakes we've discussed are simply miscommunications, moments when our habits send the wrong message. Correcting them reopens the dialogue between your food and your cells, and that dialogue, once restored, becomes the foundation of vitality. So the next time you stand in your kitchen, egg in hand, remember this. It's not a symbol of risk, but of potential. A humble reminder that even the simplest foods, when treated with care, can become medicine. The question is not whether eggs are good or bad. The question is how you choose to prepare, combine, and respect them. And that choice, made consciously, consistently, is the true secret to thriving beyond 50. There comes a moment in everyone's health journey when knowledge shifts from fear into clarity. When you stop asking, "Is this food bad for me?" and start asking, "How can I make this food work for me?" That moment is what separates those who merely avoid disease from those who actively build vitality. And when it comes to eggs, one of nature's most perfect yet misunderstood foods, that clarity can transform your relationship with your body entirely. Because the goal is not to eat less, it's to eat wiser, to make every bite count for your longevity, your heart, your mind, and your energy. We've uncovered the 6 dangerous mistakes people make with eggs: overheating them, pairing them with the wrong foods, eating them repetitively without balance, buying poor quality ones, storing them incorrectly, and eating them at the wrong times. Now, let's go deeper. Let's look at what happens inside your body when you correct these mistakes. Let's see how small adjustments in cooking, timing, and awareness can literally change your biochemistry from one of silent stress to one of harmony. Imagine your bloodstream as a vast network of rivers. Each artery, each vein, each tiny capillary carries nutrients, oxygen, and hormones to every cell in your body. For this system to thrive, the riverbanks, your endothelial cells, must stay smooth, flexible, and calm. But when inflammation enters, those riverbanks begin to stiffen. They lose elasticity, they trap cholesterol, they become rough terrain for plaque to stick. This is how heart disease starts, not in a single dramatic moment, but through decades of subtle wear. Now imagine your breakfast choices as the daily weather that shapes those rivers. One stormy morning, a fried egg with bacon in oxidized oil sends a burst of wind and debris through the system. A calm, sunny morning, a poached egg with greens and olive oil brings healing and repair. The difference seems small in the moment, but over thousands of mornings, it's the difference between fragile health and lasting vitality. When you stop overheating your eggs, something fascinating happens at the cellular level. The phospholipids and choline in the yolk remain intact, supporting the structure of your cell membranes. These compounds act like the walls of every cell, keeping them supple and strong. Over time, that resilience translates to better nerve communication, faster repair, and sharper cognition. Studies have shown that adults who consume moderate amounts of choline-rich foods like properly cooked eggs have a lower risk of developing cognitive decline. Why? Because choline converts to acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter of memory, focus, and learning. But that only happens if the yolk remains unoxidized. Overheated yolks destroy this delicate compound before your body can use it. Gentle cooking also protects antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which concentrate in the retina of your eyes. These nutrients act like internal sunglasses, shielding your vision from the oxidative damage caused by sunlight and screen exposure. After 50, the body's natural production of protective pigments declines, which is why macular degeneration becomes more common. Every softly cooked egg yolk replenishes those pigments. It's not an exaggeration to say that how you cook your breakfast can literally determine how you see the world in later years. Now consider the impact of improving your food pairings. When you swap processed meats for vegetables or avocado, your breakfast becomes a symphony of balance. The potassium in spinach counteracts sodium's pressure-raising effects. The monounsaturated fats in avocado stabilize cholesterol and reduce inflammation. The fiber in greens slows down the absorption of fat and sugar, giving your liver and pancreas time to process nutrients calmly. Together, these ingredients turn what was once an inflammatory meal into one that actively protects your arteries. Within weeks of making this change, people often notice their energy stabilizing. That morning fatigue that once required a second cup of coffee starts to fade. That heaviness after breakfast lightens. Why? Because your blood sugar stays steady instead of spiking and crashing. Protein from the egg gives you sustained energy, while the healthy fats and fiber regulate its release. The difference isn't dramatic, but it's consistent, and consistency is where true health begins. Let's talk about your liver, the silent hero behind every dietary decision. It processes fats, detoxifies chemicals, regulates hormones, and produces the cholesterol your body actually needs. Yes, your body needs cholesterol. It's the foundation for hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol. And it's vital for cell repair. The problem isn't cholesterol itself, it's imbalance. When you eat poor quality fats or oxidized cholesterol, your liver works overtime, producing more LDL particles to transport it, often in the small, dense form that's prone to oxidation. Over time, this process exhausts the liver. Fat begins to accumulate, enzymes rise, energy drops. But when you correct your habits, when you cook gently, choose pasture-raised eggs and pair them with anti-inflammatory foods, you reduce that burden. The liver begins to balance again. It produces larger, more buoyant LDL particles that are less likely to oxidize and more easily cleared from the bloodstream. HDL levels rise naturally, sweeping away excess cholesterol like a cleanup crew. Your energy returns because your liver no longer operates under constant pressure. This is why so many people feel lighter when they start eating cleaner breakfasts. It's not just digestion, it's detoxification finally catching its breath. Now let's zoom in even further to your mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside your cells. They rely on nutrients from eggs, B vitamins, iron, selenium, and choline to produce energy efficiently. But oxidation, poor oil choices, and nutrient imbalances can disrupt that process. Imagine a car engine running on dirty fuel. It still works, but it sputters, overheats, and wears down faster. That's what happens to your mitochondria when you overload your diet with oxidized fats or lack antioxidants. Over time, energy production declines, leading to fatigue, slower metabolism, and cognitive dullness. When you feed your mitochondria cleanly, with unoxidized yolks, olive oil, and greens, you give them what they need to thrive. You'll notice sharper focus, steadier stamina, even improved mood, because mitochondria aren't just energy producers, they're messengers of vitality. They signal your cells when to repair, when to rest, when to renew. Proper nourishment keeps those signals clear and strong. Another key player in this equation is the gut microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria that influence everything from digestion to immunity to mental health. Overcooked, greasy, or repetitive egg meals feed the wrong kinds of bacteria, those that thrive on sulfur compounds and inflammatory fats. But when you balance your eggs with plant fibers, fermented foods, or herbs, you feed beneficial species that produce short-chain fatty acids. These compounds reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and even communicate with your brain to regulate mood. You begin to experience a deep, steady sense of wellness, the kind that doesn't depend on caffeine or supplements, but on the quiet cooperation of your inner systems. Let's not forget the emotional connection to food. For many, breakfast is ritual, a comfort zone. Changing habits can feel unsettling at first, but transformation doesn't mean giving up pleasure. It means redefining it. The golden richness of a softly poached yolk, the earthy aroma of sautéed greens, the peppery freshness of olive oil. These are sensory experiences that bring joy and healing. When you shift from eating for convenience to eating for nourishment, your relationship with food deepens. You begin to taste gratitude, not guilt. And here's something that often surprises people. Moderation brings freedom. When you stop eating eggs every day, you start looking forward to them again. They regain their magic, a weekend treat, a symbol of care. This rhythm, alternating rich foods with lighter ones, mirrors the natural cycles your body craves. Feast and rest, effort and recovery, light and nourishment. Health isn't built on restriction, it's built on balance. For those concerned about cholesterol numbers, the difference can be profound. Within just a few months of adjusting these habits, many see measurable changes. Triglycerides fall, HDL rises, LDL particle size improves. But beyond the numbers, there's a deeper shift. Your body feels younger. You move with more ease. Your mornings feel lighter. Your mind feels clearer. That's the language of balanced biology, when your internal systems work in harmony instead of opposition. Let's explore what happens when you fix another silent mistake. Timing. Eating your eggs earlier in the day aligns with your circadian rhythm, the natural 24-hour clock that governs everything from digestion to hormone release. In the morning, your metabolism is primed for fat oxidation and protein synthesis. That's when your body can best utilize the nutrients from eggs for muscle maintenance, neurotransmitter production, and stable blood sugar. Eating heavy meals late in the evening, by contrast, disrupts melatonin and slows overnight detoxification. You might still sleep, but your rest won't be as restorative. The body can't repair fully while it's busy digesting. So imagine this adjustment. You eat a nourishing breakfast with eggs and greens, share a balanced lunch with lean protein and whole grains, and a light plant-based dinner. The effect over time is extraordinary. Your circadian rhythm stabilizes, you fall asleep easier, wake up clearer, and your digestive system functions more smoothly. That's not luck, it's biochemistry aligning with rhythm. Now let's touch on hydration, a small detail often forgotten. Eggs are dense in protein and sulfur, which require adequate water for metabolism. Without hydration, these compounds can contribute to acidity and sluggish detoxification. Simply drinking a glass of water before breakfast and another mid-morning supports kidney function and smooth circulation. Small actions like this multiply their effects when done consistently. If you look at all these adjustments together, a pattern emerges, not one of restriction but of precision. Cooking with care, choosing with awareness, timing with rhythm, hydrating with intention. Each act is small, but together they build the foundation of vitality. Over 50, that foundation determines whether you age with resilience or resistance. Picture this vividly. Your arteries flexible and clear, your brain alert and calm, your joints free of stiffness, your digestion smooth. These aren't miracles. They're the visible results of alignment, of eating in harmony with your biology. Eggs, when treated correctly, become a catalyst for that harmony. They provide complete protein, brain-protective nutrients, and natural satiety that stabilizes weight. But only if you honor their nature, their fragility, their balance, their place in a bigger nutritional picture. When I speak to patients who've made these changes, I often hear the same phrase, "I didn't know I could feel this good at my age." That sentence always stays with me, because it reminds us that aging isn't the enemy, neglect is. The body never stops trying to protect you. Even when you overload it, ignore it, or misunderstand it, it keeps adapting. The moment you meet it halfway, and with awareness, with gentleness, it begins to reward you. So the next time you prepare your breakfast, remember, your kitchen is your pharmacy, your frying pan is your laboratory, and the choices you make in those few minutes shape the health of every cell in your body. That is the beauty of nutrition, the profound simplicity of it. You don't need exotic supplements or expensive treatments to heal. You need understanding. And understanding always begins with awareness. Eggs can still be your morning ritual, but now they become a symbol of respect for your body, your years, and the wisdom you've earned. Because when you reach 50 and beyond, health is no longer about survival. It's about refinement. It's about transforming every act of eating into an act of care. And that's the true power behind correcting these 6 mistakes. Not just extending life, but enriching it. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes from understanding your body, not as a fragile system to be feared, but as a wise, self-correcting organism that responds faithfully to how you treat it. When people reach 50, something profound often happens. The noise of youth, the rush, the indifference, the thoughtless habits begins to fade. In its place emerges a subtle awareness, a curiosity about how to live not just longer but better, and that's where true empowerment begins. When it comes to eggs, this simple, ancient food, that empowerment takes form in small, consistent acts of care. The soft click of the stove knob turned lower than usual, the decision to reach for olive oil instead of canola, the quiet refusal to pair breakfast with processed meat, replaced by something green and alive. These are not just nutritional choices, they're daily declarations of respect for your body's rhythm and wisdom. Over time, they become your armor against the slow decay that most people mistake for normal aging. Let's take a moment to reflect on what happens inside you once these corrections take hold, when those 6 dangerous mistakes become 6 powerful transformations. 1. From oxidation to preservation. Each time you cook eggs gently, no harsh flames, no burnt edges, you're preserving vitality at the molecular level. The fats remain stable, the yolks stay golden, the proteins stay digestible. That means fewer inflammatory compounds entering your bloodstream and more usable nutrients fueling your cells. Over weeks, your liver stops fighting oxidative byproducts and begins processing cholesterol efficiently again. Your arteries respond with gratitude, flexibility returns, blood flow improves, blood pressure stabilizes. You may not notice the change on day 1, but you will feel it on day 30. A lightness in your chest when you climb stairs, a steadier pulse, calmer mornings. 2. From harmful pairings to healing synergy. When you replace bacon and sausage with vegetables, avocado, or fermented greens, you create harmony on the plate. The antioxidants from spinach neutralize any residual oxidation from the egg's fats. The fiber in vegetables slows glucose absorption, balancing insulin. The potassium and magnesium support healthy blood pressure. Even your gut bacteria shift, from inflammatory strains to those that produce short-chain fatty acids, healing your intestinal lining. This is why people who eat plant-paired breakfasts tend to report less bloating, more regular digestion, and better focus. They're not just eating differently, they're communicating with their microbiome, telling it, "We are choosing balance." 3. From monotony to metabolic flexibility. When you stop eating the same breakfast daily, your metabolism wakes up, your enzymes diversify, your gut bacteria flourish, and your body learns to handle nutrients with greater efficiency. This metabolic flexibility becomes your shield against diabetes, fatigue, and brain fog. It means your body can switch between burning fats and carbs gracefully. Variety, once seen as indulgence, becomes a tool of precision. You begin to notice that you feel stronger, more alert, less dependent on caffeine. That's because your mitochondria, those little energy engines, thrive on novelty. They were never meant to process the same narrow set of inputs day after day. 4. From factory to farm, the power of source. Switching to pasture-raised eggs does more than improve your nutrition. It reconnects you to the rhythm of nature. You're choosing eggs richer in omega-3s, antioxidants and vitamins, but you're also supporting cleaner farming, fewer toxins and more humane practices. The animals live as they were meant to, and that energy, the purity of it, carries into your body. Nutritionally, this means less inflammation, clearer skin, sharper memory. Spiritually, it means alignment. You begin to feel the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you've chosen integrity, not perfection, but awareness. 5. From neglect to mindfulness. Storing your eggs properly, keeping them cold and protected, may sound like a small act, but it's symbolic of something larger, mindfulness. You've moved from living reactively to living intentionally. The refrigerator, once a place of habit, becomes a small space of order. That discipline ripples outward. You begin noticing other details, how you chew, how you hydrate, how you rest. Health, after all, is built in moments of awareness. Every time you prevent contamination, every time you check an expiration date, you affirm that your well-being is worth the extra few seconds. 6. From misaligned timing to metabolic harmony. Finally, by eating your eggs at the right time, early in the day, within your natural metabolic window, you realign your body's internal clock. Your energy stabilizes through the morning. Your digestion flows instead of struggles. Your sleep improves because your liver is no longer burdened with late-night work. Over time, this rhythm restores hormonal balance. Cortisol and melatonin dance in harmony again. This synchronization doesn't just make you feel better, it makes your cells function more efficiently. You're no longer fighting your biology. You're flowing with it. These 6 transformations are subtle, but they're cumulative. Each day they repair a little more of what years of unconscious eating damaged. Each meal becomes a quiet act of healing, and in that healing something deeper awakens, a sense of calm control. You stop feeling at war with food. You stop fearing the next headline that says, "Eat this, not that." You begin to trust your own body again. Because the truth is, your body has always known what to do. It just needed you to listen. When you strip away the confusion of diet culture and focus on fundamentals, balance, freshness, gentleness, health reveals itself as something beautifully simple. An egg, becomes a symbol of that simplicity. Complete, self-contained, unpretentious. It's everything your body needs to repair and rebuild, but only if treated with respect. The shell protects, the white nourishes, the yolk restores. It's a microcosm of life itself, fragile yet powerful. Let's visualize this transformation over time. Imagine the first week. You make your eggs differently. Softer heat, better oil, maybe a handful of greens. You notice lighter digestion. You no longer feel the mid-morning slump. By week 3, your energy levels have stabilized. You wake up refreshed instead of groggy. You find yourself drinking more water naturally. Your skin looks a little clearer, your focus sharper. By week 6, your cholesterol ratios have improved, not from restriction, but from balance. Your doctor comments on your numbers. You smile, knowing it came not from struggle, but from awareness. And somewhere along that journey, food begins to feel sacred again. You no longer eat while distracted. You cook slowly. You notice the texture of the yolk, the scent of olive oil, the gentle steam rising from your plate. You've rediscovered what generations before us knew instinctively, that food prepared with care carries energy that heals. That is the real secret of longevity, not denial but intention. If we could look inside your bloodstream after months of this transformation, we'd see the proof written in your chemistry. Lower levels of C-reactive protein, the marker of inflammation. Lower triglycerides, a balanced ratio of LDL to HDL. Higher antioxidant capacity. But we'd also see something invisible to lab tests: stability, calm, a body no longer in constant alarm mode. Because when you correct the way you eat, you don't just change numbers, you change signals. The hormones that regulate hunger, leptin and ghrelin, begin to work properly again. Insulin sensitivity improves, allowing your cells to absorb glucose without chaos. Cortisol, the stress hormone, finds its rhythm rising in the morning and fading at night. You begin to live in sync with your biology instead of against it. And then, the most remarkable thing happens. Your mind follows. The same chemical calm that settles in your bloodstream begins to echo in your thoughts. You feel less anxious. You crave less sugar. You start to look at your reflection with more peace, not because you've changed overnight, but because you finally feel aligned with yourself. That's the kind of transformation no diet plan can sell. It can only be lived. There's also something deeply human about understanding the balance between pleasure and discipline. You learn that enjoying eggs, like enjoying life, is not about excess or deprivation. It's about harmony. You can still savor an omelette on Sunday or a rich brunch with friends, but now you do it consciously. You know how to balance it the next day with lighter meals, more water, more greens. This rhythm, indulgence and restoration, becomes the heartbeat of sustainable health. When you view food through this lens, guilt dissolves. The pressure to be perfect fades. You start to see each meal as an opportunity, not a test, and that truly is where freedom lies. Because the goal of nutrition after 50 isn't to live in restriction, it's to live with wisdom. Let's step back and look at the larger picture. The story of the egg mirrors the story of aging itself. At first we take life at high heat, rushing, pushing, overdoing. We believe more is better. But with time, we learn the art of low flame, patience, presence, precision. We discover that the things that last, health, strength, relationships, peace, all thrive when treated gently. So as you stand at your stove tomorrow morning, cracking an egg into a pan, remember that you're not just cooking breakfast. You're practicing longevity. You're shaping the health of your arteries, your brain, your mood, your years ahead. Each careful choice adds to the quiet architecture of vitality that will sustain you. And if anyone ever asks, "Are eggs good for you?" you'll know the truth. They're neither good nor bad. They're a reflection, a mirror of your awareness. Treated with wisdom, they're medicine. Treated with neglect, they're burden. The difference lies entirely in your hands. Because health isn't built by avoiding danger. It's built by mastering it. By learning how to turn potential harm into power. By transforming mistakes into mindful action. That is the essence of real vitality, the kind that lasts. And that's the beauty of reaching this stage of life. You finally have the perspective to see that every detail matters. That even something as small as the way you cook an egg can echo through your entire system. That healing doesn't come from grand gestures, but from small acts done with great consistency. So take this knowledge, not as a warning, but as a gift. A reminder that your best years aren't behind you and they're waiting quietly on the other side of awareness. All you have to do is listen, adjust, and honor what your body has been asking for all along. Because from this moment forward, every meal can be medicine. Every choice can be healing. Every morning can be an act of renewal. And the humble egg, simple, ancient, and powerful, can become a daily symbol of how wisdom transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. That is what it truly means to live with vitality after 50. To move through each day with calm strength, quiet clarity, and the steady knowledge that you are in every sense nourishing your life.